There are words that can linger in a woman's mind for days, even if she doesn't remember the exact conversation. It wasn't what you said, but how you made her feel. The funny thing is, most men don't realize this. They keep using the same generic pet names, thinking that calling her baby or sweetheart is enough. But those words don't spark anything anymore. Instead, when you call her in a way that connects with her energy, her desire, and her deeper emotional side, you leave a mark in her mind that she simply can't erase. Many men fall into verbal monotony. They talk, but they don't make an impact. Repeating what everyone else says makes them invisible, just background noise. Yet a few words, spoken with the right intention, tone, and timing, can make a woman associate your presence with pleasure, playfulness, or tenderness. This isn't manipulation, it's psychological understanding. Because language, when it comes from the right frame, is a tool for emotional connection, not a trick. Today, I want to show you how to choose the pet names that trigger that connection without falling into cliches or losing your masculine essence. If this is your first time here, my name is Celia. I help men understand the female mind through ethics, attraction, and emotional intelligence. Here, we talk about how to create both desire and respect. I invite you to stay until the end and subscribe, because by the time this video is over, you'll understand how a single word can completely transform the way she perceives you, and how you can turn your presence into something she needs to feel again. Let's begin. Before thinking about pet names, you need to understand why certain words stay imprinted in a woman's mind. It's not about magic or cheesy poetry, it's pure neurochemistry. When she hears a phrase filled with intention, her brain doesn't analyze it. She feels it. It activates the same emotional centers that respond to pleasure, surprise, or recognition. That's why the voice of a man who speaks with calm and confidence can become a stronger emotional anchor than any physical gesture. What captures her attention isn't the word itself, but the energy behind it. We've already seen that language has power, but in the emotional realm, that power multiplies. Women process the tone and emotional charge of words more deeply than men do. If you speak with an empty or neutral tone, what she feels is disconnection. If you speak with presence and warmth, she senses real intention. At that point, she stops listening and starts feeling. That's why every pet name you use must align with your attitude. Saying something playful while your body shows tension or insecurity creates confusion, and confusion kills attraction. The most common mistake is thinking that the word alone has an effect. A man says baby, thinking it creates intimacy, but that term is worn out. It's lost its emotional charge. She hears it all the time, from friends, exes, even strangers who don't know how to calibrate. What creates attraction isn't the pet name, but the context around it. When you choose words that make her feel unique, you're touching the core of her deepest emotional need, to feel seen, not just heard. Picture this. You're talking about something ordinary, and suddenly, without planning it, you look at her and say with a half smile, "You're dangerous." In that moment, she doesn't just hear a word. Her mind translates it as a mix of playfulness and recognition. She understands that you see her, that you're reading her energy. That kind of impact doesn't come from empty compliments, but from calibrated language. A well-chosen pet name doesn't describe what you see, it reveals what you perceive. That's why, before learning the specific pet names, it's crucial to grasp the principle. Language creates sensations. When your words awaken emotion, the female mind associates your voice with pleasure and becomes addicted to it. That's what creates that feeling of, I don't know what it is, but I love listening to him. It's not about saying a lot, it's about saying little, but with intention. The man who masters this doesn't need to chase or seek approval. He speaks little, but leaves an impression. Every word carries the weight of his frame and the softness of his tone. And that balance, between firmness and warmth, is what most attracts a woman, even without physical contact. With that said, let's move on to a concrete example of how to apply this principle in action and see why a single pet name can completely change the way she perceives you. There's something fascinating about feminine desire. It needs to feel a mix of safety and risk. When a man can awaken both sensations at once, he becomes irresistible. That's why calling her danger works so well, if you know how to do it with the right balance. You're not saying she's a threat. You're subtly telling her that her presence unsettles you, that she stirs something inside you that you can't fully control. And that confession, in the right tone, translates into pure attraction. When a woman senses that a man isn't afraid of her energy, yet doesn't let himself be dominated by it either, something ignites in her emotional mind. The word danger tells her that you recognize her power, that you feel it, but that you're not going to run away. You're there, aware, playful, dancing with fire without getting burned. That's one of the strongest signs of grounded masculine energy. She doesn't feel judged for being intense, nor overprotected. She feels celebrated for what she awakens in you. We already know that tone is everything, and here it becomes essential. If you say it stiffly or too seriously, it turns into a dull comment. But if you accompany it with a calm smile and a steady gaze, the effect is instant. She understands that you're saying it from confidence, not fear. And when a woman senses confidence, she opens up. It's a silent game where language becomes a dance between tension and release. Picture the scene. You're walking together, laughing about something, and in a spontaneous moment, you look at her and say softly, "Your trouble?" You're not openly flirting, but you're setting a frame. She'll smile, throw a playful comment back, and that's when the game begins. That's the seed of healthy attraction, the emotional exchange where both feel free to express desire without fear of judgment. The mistake many men make is using these words strategically, trying to provoke an immediate reaction. When you do that, you lose authenticity, and she can feel it. Women have a sharp intuition for sensing whether a gesture comes from genuine energy or calculation. The key is to truly mean what you say, to enjoy the moment. When you're present, there's no way to go wrong. Every word flows naturally, effortlessly, and she feels it. With that in mind, the real power of this nickname lies in contrast. It's a strong word spoken softly, a message of desire disguised as a warning. And that's why it hits so deeply, because it activates both her rational mind and her emotional body at the same time. She knows it's a game, but one that awakens something inside her. Calling her danger is reminding her that you see beyond the obvious, that you recognize her magnetism and still choose to stay close. It gives her permission to be intense without fearing you'll pull away. And when a woman feels that, she begins to trust you with her most authentic side. Now, let's move on to another type of pet name that works in a completely different way, but also stirs something deep, the sense of shared playfulness and complicity that makes everything more fun and more intimate at the same time. There's a word that brings a smile to almost every woman, no matter her age: naughty. It carries something special, a mix of tenderness, playfulness, and restrained desire that makes her feel alive. It doesn't sound aggressive or crude, it's a subtle invitation to play. When a man uses it with the right energy, what he conveys isn't judgment but complicity. She feels she can show her spontaneous, mischievous side without fear of being judged. In that moment, the connection becomes more human, more free. In the previous points, we understood that language creates emotions, and this word sparks them instantly. Naughty carries a very different emotional weight than any other compliment because it doesn't put her on a pedestal or make her feel childish. It says, "I see you, I know you enjoy the game, and I like that about you." It validates her playful feminine energy, that part of her that wants to feel, tease, laugh, and live without structure. So when you call her that, what you're really doing is giving her permission to be herself. The key lies in the tone and timing. It's not something you say when the conversation is tense or serious, but when there's laughter, shared glances, or a silence that invites connection. If you say it with a smile, but in a low, slow, almost whispering voice, you create a small emotional spark. She doesn't just hear the word, Her mind associates it with the feeling of freedom, with the permission to be authentic. And when a woman feels free with you, that's when true attraction begins. Picture a simple scene. You're talking, and she makes a joke that shows her confidence and ease. Instead of replying with a plain, "You're funny," you hold her gaze for a second and say, "You're so naughty, you know that?" Her mind doesn't take it as just another line. It hears it as an invitation to keep playing. It's an acknowledgement of her energy without taking away her elegance. That feeling lingers in her mind, even hours later, because she didn't just hear the word, she felt it. The mistake many men make is saying it with overt sexual energy, as if it were a provocation. When you do that, it loses all subtlety and becomes clumsy. But when you say it calmly, with humor, with that blend of tenderness and quiet desire, the word takes on a whole new meaning. You're telling her you like her essence, not just her body. And that disarms her, because she finds in you a man who knows how to flirt with emotional intelligence. Over the years, I've seen how men who learn to communicate from this balance achieve more than just interest. They create emotional addiction. Not because they use magic phrases, but because they make her feel pleasure in their presence. That's what real seduction is, creating a space where she can be all that she is without losing her allure for being genuine. Now I want to take a moment to invite you to pause. If this content is resonating with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, like, and comment your name and country so I can see where our community is connecting from. I always read your comments, and it brings me joy to learn your stories. If you'd like, you can also share your experiences or any advice from your own perspective. Your participation makes a huge difference and is a great support for this space to keep growing. That said, let's get back to the topic and move on to a type of pet name that evokes a completely different emotion, one that awakens tenderness and desire at the same time, and can strengthen a bond when used with true presence. When a man calls a woman little one from a place of calm rather than superiority, something shifts in the air. This nickname touches very different emotional chords because it awakens the desire to feel cared for without taking away her strength. It's not about making her feel fragile. It's about conveying protection and tenderness within a grounded masculine energy. It's the way she senses that she can relax around you, that she doesn't have to control every detail because you hold the calm. This kind of word awakens a feeling of secure attachment, that deep sense of connection many women haven't felt in a long time. It's not a diminutive that infantilizes, but a signal of emotional closeness. In the previous sections, we saw that the right words can create tension and play. Now we're entering a different kind of bond, emotional safety mixed with desire. When you call her little one at the right moment, her body softens. She doesn't feel the need to protect herself or hide her vulnerability. And in the language of attraction, that's pure power. Picture an everyday moment. You've spent the afternoon together, sharing laughter and glances, and as you say goodbye, you gently move a strand of hair from her face and say calmly, "Take care, little one." There's no intention to impress, only presence. In that second, she feels something deep, recognition, calm, attraction, and connection. It's as if, for a brief instant, the world stops and her mind registers only your voice. And that memory stays. It plays over and over in her mind. Many men avoid this kind of language because they fear coming across as too affectionate or sensitive. Yet an emotionally mature woman isn't looking for constant toughness. She's looking for balance. She wants to feel she can be strong and still rest in the energy of a man who can hold space without dominating. Calling her little one doesn't diminish her. It reminds her that with you, she doesn't have to prove anything, and that, emotionally, creates a bond few men ever achieve. Of course, this nickname requires coherence. You can't call her little one and then act like an insecure or reactive boy. The power of that word depends on the frame you speak from. If your energy conveys stability, calm, and composure, she perceives it as a protective gesture. But if it comes from neediness or lack, the message gets distorted. That's why every word must be grounded in emotional presence. This nickname works especially well in moments of soft connection, when sexual tension is there but contained. It's a subtle reminder that desire can also feel safe. It's a verbal caress that doesn't aim to spark instant fire, but deep trust. Its strength lies in the balance between tenderness and masculinity. And it's precisely that combination, the safety that soothes and the desire that invites, that makes a woman associate your voice with calm. In a time when most people are chasing attention, the man who offers peace becomes unforgettable. That's why understanding this kind of nickname not only helps you attract, but also build a real connection. Now, let's move on to a very different kind of word, one that awakens the opposite energy, rebellious play, overflowing desire, and the attraction that ignites when she feels free to break the rules with you. This nickname belongs to a different category, one that's far more provocative and magnetic. When you call a woman outlaw with the right energy, you're not accusing her of anything. You're celebrating her power to provoke, to bend the rules, and to enjoy it. You're telling her you like her rebellious side, that you're not afraid of her intensity or her desire. Deep down, this kind of word is a permission slip. You're giving her the freedom to be sensual, playful, and unapologetically herself. The power of this term lies in the duality it creates. Outlaw carries a spark of mischief mixed with tenderness, like a shared secret between you both. She feels that you're part of the same game, not a man watching from the sidelines, but someone who enjoys her energy without trying to control it. That sense of complicity creates a kind of attraction that can't be faked, because it's born from respecting her wild, feminine side. By now, we understand that how a man makes her feel is what determines the intensity of her desire. When you call her outlaw with a calm smile, you're acknowledging her power while showing that it doesn't intimidate you. That combination is hypnotic to her because she sees you as different from the rest, a man who doesn't need to dominate to enjoy her energy. On the contrary, you appreciate her fire, you value it, and you know how to channel it with ease. Picture this: she teases you playfully, challenges you with a joke or a bold look. Instead of reacting or competing with her energy, you hold your ground and simply say, "You're such an outlaw." Your tone isn't serious, but it's not mocking either. It's conspiratorial. She feels it as a disguised compliment, an invitation to keep playing. In that moment, the emotional tension becomes palpable, and you both know it. There's no need to say more. This kind of nickname works because it validates one of the deepest needs of the modern woman: to be intense without having to hide it. When a man calls her outlaw from a place of fun rather than judgment, he's telling her that her energy is welcome, that her authenticity isn't a problem, it's magnetic, that frees her and deepens her attraction to you because around you she doesn't have to censor who she is. But there's a catch. It only works if you say it with presence and no anxiety. If you use it to get a reaction, it loses all its charm. The secret is to genuinely enjoy the moment without expecting anything. That effortless confidence is what turns the word into a verbal caress. She feels that you're in control of yourself, and that invites her to let go even more. This kind of playful energy builds a different emotional connection. It's not just physical desire, it's a symbolic exchange where she feels understood. The man who achieves this doesn't just attract her, he stays in her mind. Not because he says something sweet, but because he activates the part of her identity that wants to be seen, acknowledged, and celebrated. And when a woman feels she can be fully herself, flirty, strong, rebellious, free, and still be desired, the connection becomes addictive. At that point, she's no longer looking for excuses to see you. She's looking for reasons to stay close. With that said, let's move on to another nickname. One that doesn't ignite instant fire, but instead creates a quieter, deeper, and more emotional kind of attraction. The kind that makes her think about you, even when she doesn't quite understand why. There's something irresistible about what isn't fully revealed. The unknown has its own magnetism, and women feel it with special intensity. When you call her mysterious, you're touching a deeply psychological point, the desire to be understood without losing her freedom. You're telling her that her complexity attracts you, that it doesn't frustrate you, that you enjoy her essence without trying to control it. And in a world where many men crave certainty, the one who's comfortable with mystery stands out. This nickname activates something profoundly emotional. A woman who feels mysterious in your eyes senses that you see beyond the obvious. You're not focused only on her body or external gestures, but on what she conveys, her silence, the energy that lingers between words. And when she feels a man perceives her on that level, an instant connection forms, because very few can see that without invading it. That's the difference between trying to figure her out and simply enjoying her mystery. Up to now, we've explored nicknames filled with playfulness, tenderness, or mischief. This one, however, creates depth. Mysterious doesn't aim to provoke an instant reaction. It creates an emotional echo. She carries it with her and remembers it when she's alone, because it makes her feel valued for what she doesn't show, not just for what she gives. Psychologically, that kind of validation strengthens her sense of self and awakens a desire to reciprocate. Imagine you're having a calm conversation, talking about something ordinary, and in a moment when she lowers her gaze or sighs softly, you look at her for a few seconds and say, "You have something mysterious about you." There's no intention to flatter, only presence. She won't know whether you meant it as a comment or a confession, and that's exactly why it stays with her. You've planted an emotional seed that connects her to you, not through logic, but through curiosity. This kind of nickname requires a different kind of energy from a man. It shouldn't be said quickly or tossed out like a clever line. It's spoken slowly, in a low tone, with a calm gaze. The silence that follows is part of the message. That's where she processes what she just felt. If she smiles or looks away, it's not discomfort, it's vulnerability. You've touched a part of her that rarely gets recognized with such subtlety. The strength of mysterious lies in the fact that it doesn't confine, label, or define her. It leaves her free. That's why it works so well. Because a woman doesn't want to be completely understood, she wants to be perceived. She wants to be seen without being defined. When you give her that space, you awaken a kind of desire that's more spiritual, more silent, yet just as powerful as the fire of play and seduction. In this way, the combination of words that awaken desire, danger, outlaw, those that inspire tenderness, little one, and those that recognize her depth, mysterious, form a complete emotional language. It's what turns an ordinary man into someone she can't forget, not because he uses rehearsed phrases, but because he knows how to connect with every level of her energy. And now, with all the pieces on the table, it's time to understand the deeper truth behind it all. This isn't just about nicknames. It's about the psychology behind every word, and how that knowledge can transform the way you connect with any woman who crosses your path. Throughout this journey, you've discovered that it's not about memorizing phrases or collecting nicknames. It's about understanding the psychology behind every word. What makes your presence addictive isn't what you say, but how you say it and the energy you speak from. A man who masters his energy and communicates from calm can turn even the simplest word into an intense emotional experience. Because words don't carry power through form, but through the intention that supports them. When you speak from neediness, any nickname loses its power. When you speak from confidence, every word becomes an emotional invitation. Women don't connect with the man who tries to impress them. They connect with the one who makes them feel seen, desired, and free at the same time. That's the real difference between the man who speaks to please and the one who communicates from his frame. One seeks approval, the other simply shows up as he is. And that's what draws them in. Thank you for making it this far. If this content brought you clarity or made you reflect, I'm glad to have fulfilled the purpose of this space, to help you become a man with grounding, values, and presence, capable of creating ethical attraction and genuine connection. Thank you for supporting this work, for for being part of this community, and for continuing to grow with awareness. I'm sending you a big hug and my sincere wish that you put all of this into practice with authenticity, respect, and confidence. See you in the next video, where we'll keep going deeper into the art of emotional connection and the true power of masculine presence.